Welcome to New Dice. Thanks for checking out this episode. I'm Sean. I'm new to the GM slash DM slash whatever M it is at your table hobby. I'm here to share the journey of learning with you and hopefully learn some things from everybody who interacts in the comments below. At the end of the episode today, we'll look at some comments from the last episode, put a bow on that episode. We'll do that near the end. All the timestamps are available in the description if you want to jump around a little bit. Because today I want to talk about the word yes that you learn a lot about when you're learning how to GM. Talk about that, and we'll kick it off by discussing starting off and some of the problems, a problem I'm having with starting off my campaign. I did want to say I normally try to release these videos on Sunday. Last Sunday when I'm recording this was Super Bowl Sunday. I'm a diehard Seattle Seahawks fan. They won the Super Bowl. And it was a busy weekend for me. So there was no new dice. It was all football for me over the weekend. But here we are, midweek to late week with something new for you. Thanks again for checking it out. Like, subscribe, tell a friend about it. I would love it. I love the feedback as well. So one thing I want to talk about before we get into the saying yes at your table and a different way to look at that or something else to look at in that regard is the fact that for people like me who are new to this hobby, new to GMing, it's a daunting task. It's overwhelming, in fact. And getting from saying to yourself, I want to run a game, to getting to the table can be extremely tricky and, like I said, overwhelming. I am dragging my feet currently like crazy to get my table started. And the weird part is, this is with a group of people that I've played with every Tuesday night for 2 years. In the fall, our DM and his wife moved across the country, so that table disbanded. We're trying to finish the campaign online, but the time difference is causing a lot of issues, and so we're kind of stalling out. Well, when we concluded last fall with our last live table, I told a group of the people at the table, I was like, look, I'll take over. I would love to try to run a game. If you guys wouldn't mind, come sit at my table. Come to my house. We'll do some live games. I think it'd be fun. We could keep the tradition of playing Tuesday night going. And what have I done since then? Drug my feet. There's a lot to go into getting ready. And if you are new to this, it is, especially for someone like me, an easy place to get crazy scatterbrained when getting ready for running a table. Where do I start, right? Where do I start? Do I start super small? Our heroes find themselves on the outskirts of a small village, in the northeastern reaches of the continent of Notham, right? Is that where, do I start small in this little village? The adventurers have traveled for weeks to deliver a package to a dwarven Hunters Guild leader. Rogthard, I don't know, Rogthard, and they're going to take him this package, and we've got this small little start, right, for the group. What does the box have in it? What is this little village all about? What kind of weird things are happening around there? I got a small little pinpoint. Is that where I start prepping for my campaign? Or do I have to start big? And I look at this entire continent of Notham, right? I look at the entire continent, I go, okay, well, what happened here? What is the story here? 100 years ago, the 6 orders of mages had a massive battle, huge battle, the good versus evil, and it left the land devastated, right? A lot of the orders were wiped out, and lo and behold, a dark wizard survived a lot of this with a spattering of other wizards, but one dark wizard survived, and he is trying to build an army way out to the west. And word is coming that he is starting to make his way and his presence known. And now you've got this big, huge map with a main bad guy. Do I start my prep there? Is that where I start? What about a map? I need a map. Okay, scatterbrain me. Let me jump away from planning the small thing. I got to make a map. Let me put a bunch of stuff on it. Take time doing that. How's money going to work in this world? If people are getting gold, what does 1 gold equal? What are the prices going to be like at my cities? If 1 gold is $10, how much would a healing potion cost at a store here in town? These are things you just, as a scatterbrained person with a scatterbrained idea of trying to take all of this stuff and funnel it down, it's very overwhelming. And I could drag my feet forever and give myself excuses for why I can't start this table because I'm not ready, right? Now, for the veteran DMs, this is your time to go to the comments and where did you start? If you're telling someone new like me to start, where do you start? And I know the thing is just start. Just start. But there's another aspect to all of this. It's fear. I, I mean, I'm going to call it how it is. I think it's fear. There's a little fear in starting a table, but I don't think that's a bad thing because it is scary to know you're about to sit down at a table with people and run a game and you haven't done it and there's a lot of things that could go wrong. But guess what? The things are going to go wrong. There's going to be lumps. There's going to be bruises. There's going to be bumps, all those things. There's going to be nights that are miserable at the table, not miserable, but they're not going to be as amazing. And there's probably going to be nights that are super fun. But there's a fear there of what if it doesn't work? But I think that's a good thing, new DMs. I think it's a good thing. And I think we need to latch onto it and not try to brush it under the rug because that fear means we care. That fear means we are passionate about making this work. There would be no fear if we didn't care. We would just start a game and it wouldn't matter if it was succeeded or not. You don't care. But being afraid of it could be used for good because it makes you remember that this is something you're passionate about. And that, yeah, you are afraid and it is going to be maybe scary at times because you're not going to know what to do and you're going to stutter and stumble and you're going to do something incorrectly. But that's all coming from a place of wanting the people around you to have a great time. And I think that is something to latch on to when you are getting started. So if you're like me, you're scatterbrained with your prep, we just got to start and remember the fear is good. The fear is good. So what am I going to do about it? Well, today I'm sending out the message to my group. And this is the middle of February 2026 when I'm recording it. And I'm going to tell the group I would love to start as soon as possible. If we can start at the end of this month, let's do it. Tuesday nights, my house. And if not, the first Tuesday of March, my house is going to be open. Whoever's here, we're starting the campaign. Now, between now and then, I've got to be ready for it. So again, veterans, where do you start the prep for a new table to get going? Where do you start the prep? Saying yes. Let's talk about this real quick. If you are looking at becoming a GM and you're looking at advice that is given to you, one of the things that pops up a lot if you're reading books, blogs, watching videos is don't default to no. When your character's asked to do something, don't just say no. Maybe give them a yes with a yes, but, yes, and a caveat, right? Because they are going to ask to do things that don't really work. And so you've got to make sure there's a reality of, yeah, you can try that, but it's probably going to fail. And the result could be very bad for you and the party. But you want to say yes, right? You want to encourage your players to be able to do things because they're at a table where they're told they can do anything and the world is their oyster. So you want to say yes. I feel like a lot of times you read that it is about things they're going to do. And I want to give you another spin on something that I used at one of my games. Now, this was a game. It was like my second time GMing. I wanted to play Daggerheart, and I just went to the Daggerheart Discord and said, hey, I'm going to run a game tonight. And 3 people said, I'll come sit at it. And I was like, oh, crap. And it was probably overall a miserable experience for these people because I didn't know the rules very well. And I wasn't good at GMing, but we did it. We got to play Daggerheart, and that was cool. And so through all of it, I do think there was a couple things that I took away that were positive. And one of them was this time of saying yes. And I'm going to try to do it briefly. I had a little one-shot story set up where there was an alchemist that had been captured by a bandit group. They were going to use this alchemist to make whatever they were going to use him to make. I don't remember what I wrote down in my notes. It was very memorable. But they had captured this alchemist, and the group of adventurers was tasked with finding and getting the alchemist back. So what was this going to mean? Well, I had it set up where they were going to go to this sort of evil bad guy hub, little shanty town, where a lot of criminal activity goes on and criminal dealings, and it's just kind of the bad guy place. They were going to go there and try to learn where this bandit group that they knew of, where they might be located, maybe try to figure out how to find that out one way or another, and then go get the people who are captured. And these bandits had like a cave, very, very, standard fantasy world tropes. They had a cave that was going to be just outside of this shanty town, and my adventurers were going to go to this cave, fight off the bandits, capture the alchemist. Woo-woo! We've played Daggerheart. It's fun. Well, in the middle of all of this, we were in the shanty town, And one of the things that had come up was that this group of bandits had a storefront in this shantytown where they were selling their stolen goods or goods they had found in their adventuring, and they had a little storefront for that stuff. So my player characters were like, we're going to go to that storefront, ask the person manning the store. We're going to get the information out of him of where the hideout is. Awesome. So they go to this storefront, and I was kind of hoping they'd do this. I had it set up, probably railroaded them there. I don't remember. Anyhow, they go to this place, and they knocked out they just went in and like immediately started fighting this guy for some reason and knocked him out. And they're like, when he wakes up, we'll have him tied up. We're going to get the information. Well, in the meantime, one of the gals at the table, she said, I want to go search. Is there a back room in this little storefront? I was like, sure. Yeah, there's a back room. That's where they keep all the merchandise. That's where they keep all of the stuff they've stolen or taken off of the looted corpses that they have obliterated on their path of destruction. And so she's like, okay, I want to go to the back room. I want to look on the ground to see if there's any trap doors. Because I think, and she told her, the table is, I think their hideout's probably underneath the storefront. Now, I had written this up where their hideout was outside of this shantytown, along a river, in a cave, and I had set it all up, and I had ideas for what was going to happen on their trip to this cave and what this cave would look like, and I had a map made for this cave. And I was like, you know what, though? That doesn't matter. This gal had an idea to move the story forward, and she asked if she could do something. She wanted to know if there was a trapdoor. The easy answer was no. But you know what? I switched it to yes. And there was a trapdoor in the back room. And that trapdoor did lead down into the underground layer of this bandit group. And that is where I inserted the map that I had pre-made. And we played through the fighting of the bandits. They got the alchemist back, and we played Daggerheart. But it was a simple thing to do that, yes, did challenge work that I had put in. And this is something that I am realizing as a GM. I'm going to put work into prep. And it is not a knock on my prep to alter that. And saying yes to the characters in this moment helped with a couple things. Because one, it got us to the battle. And that was very fun to get to the battle. It proceeded the story along. But it also made the characters feel very involved and like they had solved something. What does it help my table out if I'm like, no, that's not what I had planned. You're going to go find this cave. That doesn't help any. I'm just forcing my narrative on the people at my table. When I said yes to this gal going and searching for a trapdoor, and there was one, she was like, oh my gosh, I solved the mystery. I am Encyclopedia Brown for those old people like me who love an old detective book from back in the 80s. I solved the case. And the happiness on her voice was palpable by the group, and everyone was excited. You'll notice at your table, if you've played a lot, there are times where the tires start spinning in the mud. And your group might not know where to go or what to do. And to you, it's obvious, GM, because you have it all in front of you on your notes. But to them, it's not. So instead of having them spin the tires, when they come up with an idea, let's work that in. Let's make their idea work. Because that gets our story going more. And yeah, it might not have been what you planned, but it works and it makes everyone feel happy. So that is a time I want to promote saying yes. Outside of just the, can I jump over this 30-foot chasm? I want you to maybe work in a saying yes when the player characters think they have figured something out to advance the story that on your notes is not accurate. Let's say yes to that. Let's alter our notes. Let's give the players the benefit of wanting to progress the story, and let's let them help us shape the narrative. All right, there you go. There's a tip that I hope makes sense and I hope works. Again, veteran GMs, get down in the comments. Let me know why that's a bad idea. Please let us know before we go implement it at all of our tables. Let's put a bow on the last episode, which was what is your D&D theme song? All about getting a theme song at your D&D table. Liquid Weird 6055 said this. Just found your channel and good for you for doing this. It's great to get perspective from more than a decade plus veteran players, and your fresh insights are very valuable. I like your discussion about music, and the idea of PC theme music is not one that would have occurred to me, but it sounds awesome. Thank you. All right, let's move on to this. I thought this was cool. One tip I can offer you is on world building. One thing that builds immersion for my players is that when coming up with new nations and or cultures, I'll pick real world analogy and tweak it a bit to capture the vibe without just lifting it straight up. Okay, So here's the example he goes on to say, or she goes on to say, they go on to say, I'll take a list of locations by population, invert it, and strip off famous ones, give them a tweak, and I've got a culture-specific list of towns for my dwarves, parentheses German, half Elven Kingdom, Renaissance Italian, etc., which all have consistent vibe other than vaguely fantasy England that gives them each culture and its own flavor. I do the same with personal names too. Now, if my players see a German-esque name on the letter, they immediately say, Heinrich sounds dwarvish, without interrupting flow for a roll. It's subtle, but it works wonders, and it's not any more work than any other list prep method. I look forward to seeing more of your channel. Liquid Weird 6055, thank you. I think that's really cool, and that's a great idea. You take what we know here on planet Earth, and you can take cultures and put them into your game, and I think that sounds awesome. The idea that he had there of all the dwarves have German-sounding names, they've got German-sounding themes, and being able to just implement that pretty effortlessly into your table, I think that's really cool. I love the idea that they see a name, they hear a name, and it immediately takes your adventurers to a place they visited, characters they've interacted with, that part of your world, and they're immediately taken there in their brain. That's very cool. All right, thanks for commenting, Liquid Weird 6055. I like to try to put a bow on every episode, so the next episode we'll read some comments from today's, the one you're watching right now. Thanks again for watching New Dice. Like, subscribe, tell a friend about it. Please leave the comments, and thank you. Best of luck out there to you new GMs and to you old GMs, veterans out there. Hey, thanks for sharing your experiences with us in the comments below.